Now we've walked our cuff and we know that it works. If not, then we measure again and draft again, figure out where the discrepancies are and correct them. But now let's make notations for where walked our cuff and we know that it works. The buttonhole. If not, then we measure again and draft again from the edge, figure out where the discrepancies are and correct them. But now let's make notations for where the
always on camera, right?
And the buttonhole are going to be on this cuff. So a half inch in from the edge. I'm going to make a mark. So I'm going to go that way. A half inch. Of course, my pencil runs out of lead. Always on camera, right? Because we have a half inch button, we have a half inch extension. So a half inch in. So I'll zoom that in for you. So I'm going to go from this edge that way, and a half an inch. And then I'm going to measure up this line half of 2 3/4. So my cuff height is 2 3/4. We have a half inch extension. So half of 2 is 1, half of 3/4 is 3/8. So from this edge, and a half an inch. 1 3/8, and then I'm going to measure up this line half of 2 3/4. So my cuff height is 2 3/4. I'm going to make this cross mark extend. Half of 2 is 1 toward the edge of the cuff is 3/8. So up 1 3/8. And I'm going to make it extend. And I'm going to make a cross mark there towards the inside of the cuff. So that's going to give me a 5/8 mark extend buttonhole. A 1/4 of an inch toward the edge of the cuff. I'm going to have a half inch button. And I'm going to make it extend a half an inch towards the inside to accommodate for the thickness of the button. So that's going to give me a 5/8 inch buttonhole. I have a 5/8 inch buttonhole. So this distance I'm going to have a half inch button is a 1/4, and this total distance here is to accommodate for the thickness of the button. I have a 5/8 inch buttonhole. And then on the other side, I do something similar. And so a half inch distance here is 5/8. I make my mark for where my extension is. And then halfway up, and then on the other side, 2 3/4. I do something similar, 2 3/4. So a half inch 1 3/8. I make my mark for where my extension is. I'm going to make a cross mark, and then halfway up, I'm going to grab my cuff height is 2 3/4 that I also used in Fash 110 is 1 3/8, and I'm going to find the half inch circle. I'm going to make a cross mark, and then I'm going to grab my circle template that I also used in Fash 110, like that. And I'm going to find the half inch circle marks one more time. And I'm going to use, make sure we're focused, the little, let me move that like that. So I'm going to use the little marks one more time, sharp. So I'm using these marks along with the pencil lines that I drew to line up my half inch circle for my button. And then I'll go ahead and draw my half inch button, sharp. So in the industry, we have these marks right there, along with the pencil lines that I drew, to tell our operators where to sew the circle for my button. And then depending on how the buttonhole machine worked, they'd have a button, a whole half inch button, a punch hole probably near. So probably in the industry, we'd have a punch hole on the center right there, so that they'd know to tell our operators where to sew the button. And so now we have our extensions marked, and our button placement, and our buttonhole placement. The punch hole. The only thing we need on our cuff now right are the rest of our seam allowance, so that they know where to put we'll talk more about seam allowance. So now we have our extensions marked, and our button placement, and our buttonhole placement. The only thing we need on our cuff will have half-inch seam allowance. The rest of our seam allowance and notches. So it will have notches for the folds when we're talking about all the notches together, but seam just a and for the crystal ball into your future. And this cuff and then we'll have half-inch seam allowance all the way around. So once we put the seam allowance, we'll talk about all that. And it will have notches for the fold